Hey, so I want to go over the Security Plus 701 exam and my experience with it. I failed the first time and passed the second time, so hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. So, the first thing I did when I failed, I got very emotional, but then I remembered the importance of looking at this objectively. So I went and did the math to figure out exactly what went wrong. My biggest area, luckily, when you take the test, whether you pass or fail, you get this little piece of paper. And if you go to the center, anyway, which I recommend that you go to a set test center just so you have a controlled environment to be able to take the test. God forbid you have any internet issues or anything like that that could disqualify you, and then poof, your $400 is gone, which none of us can afford in this economy. So heavily suggest you go to a testing center. And again, the benefit is that they give you the piece of paper. So if, in the case that you do fail, which hopefully you won't after viewing this video, you are able to figure out where you went wrong, which is exactly what I did here. My biggest area of improvement was domain 4. And surprise, surprise, unfortunately, domain 4 is the biggest portion of the exam. Why did I fail the biggest portion of the exam? Or why did I have the most questions wrong in that section? Largely because in the Professor Messer course, which I heavily suggest that you do take on YouTube for free, he has a bunch of videos. It's 121 videos. It's a lot of information, and with all due respect to the CompTIA Security Plus 701, it is general studies of security. It is a bunch of information all over the place. So it's a lot to ingest, and I got a little bored. I'm not going to lie. So because of that, I took the exam a bit earlier than I should have. I studied for 2 weeks for about 4 hours a day. Was it 4 hours? Yeah, about 2 to 4 hours a day, pending the day. And then I took it on the third week. Again, I failed, and then I passed a month later. So domain 4 was my biggest area of improvement that I needed to do. So what I did is I went into the Professor Messer course, and I made sure to go through the entirety of the domain 4, which you can see here, the domain 4 section of the material. And then I also, so I worked in that order, covering my biggest gaps, which is domain 4, then going over all of domain 5, and then the smaller sections I got wrong. So again, I broke that down. They scale it from 100 to 900. It's a silly, respectfully, it's a silly, stupid way to score something. So I just normalized it, made it 0 to 800. So I found out I got about a 79.37, about an 80, or well, let's not round up, about a 79% on the exam. So 79% roughly equates to about 59 to 60 questions correct. Why there's a range is because the Security Plus 701 from CompTIA doesn't give you exacts. Some questions are weighted more than others. Some questions are worth more points. Some questions are worth less points, depending on the difficulty of the question. So there's that. So I normalized it and essentially found out that I got about 61 questions right, which again comes up to about a 79%, or I mean, after normalizing it, about an 81%. But you need a 82% to pass. So I found out that I was one question short, 1 to 3 questions short of passing. So what I did with that information is I didn't beat myself up. I realized like, oh, I barely failed. If I drank a little bit more water, reviewed a little bit more, if I studied for one more week, I could have passed. And then lo and behold, I took the test roughly about a month later, largely due to scheduling issues. I would have taken it the same month, but I have a kid, so scheduling issues, and passed. So that's great. What did I do right in that after I failed? Again, I went through all of the Security 1 by Professor Messer. He is the GOAT of this material, very well thought out, and he also offers practice exams that you can go through. In these practice exams, a lot of the questions are very, very close to what you'll see in all actuality. So heavily recommend that you go through the 701 security exam, all of them, every single one that he offers. He does a new one every single month. Heavily suggest that you go through that. And all of the training course that he offers, again on YouTube for free. It is 121 videos long. So how I would recommend that you break it down is doing about 1 to 2 hours a day with active retrieval practices, meaning study for 1 to 2 hours a day and then grab, I don't know, a rubber duck or some action figure or something, or your kid, and try to explain the principle as simply as possible. Because you don't need to know everything in depth, but you do need to know it. And again, the CompTIA 701 offers this exam objectives PDF for free. So you can go through this, and in short, like, all of this stuff is on the test in some way, shape, or form. So if you can go through all of these sections and explain it well enough, you will be good. You'll be fine. And it is a lot. So again, I recommend that you do about 1 to 3 hours a day. Don't try to be like me and rush through this, because you're going to forget a lot of the information. Hence the space time after you learn to try to teach what you learned or talk about what you learned. So go through all of the course, go through all of the exams that he offers. Again, he does one every single month. And then I'll also talk about where I made my mistakes. So my mistakes was the LinkedIn offers practice exams. Don't take them. Largely a waste of time. They cover some cool topics, but most of the topics are not found in the actual exam. So just completely avoid that. And go through all of the Professor Messer. While it may be boring, because again, respectfully, I say this, it is very general. It is the general studies of security, so it's hard for me to understand and memorize all this stuff without actually doing it. So I have a hard time with that. And again, I did rush. I only studied for 2 weeks, and then I took it on the 3rd week. And that was largely because I felt myself taking my time, and I didn't want to take my time. I wanted to progress as quickly as possible, and as in depth as possible. So because I found myself taking my time, I pushed myself and put $400 on the line, because I knew when I put money on the line, I'm going to get serious about it. So again, I failed on the 8th of last month, and then I passed on the 2nd of this month. I can show that. Bada bing. So yeah, that's great. So if you go through all of the exam, if you go through all of the training course, about 1 to 3 hours a day with spaced practice in between, where you try to teach it, I think you're going to do well. Again, I almost passed on my first try with 2 weeks of studying. That is not to say that will be the case for everybody. That is to say it is possible to ingest all of this information in a relatively short period of time if you put in the time to study. Again, I studied 1 to 4 hours a day, pending my availability. So go in depth. Make sure you complete all of the course. Make sure you practice all of the exams. Do not touch the LinkedIn exams. Huge waste of time. And if you feel like, man, I'm going through this and I feel like I understand it, but I really need to be tested on it. Again, the exams are here. And if you still feel like the exams that he offers here in these study groups are not enough, which they're pretty in depth. He gives one every single month, and it's a pretty long duration. It's really good. He's a wonderful teacher. Shout out to Professor Messer. So if you still feel like it's not enough, he also offers a textbook and things like that you can buy. But you do not need to by any means. Again, I passed without spending a dime on study material because Professor Messer is such a wonderful teacher. So I heavily suggest that you go through all that. You got this. If you fail the first time, know that it's not the end. Just try again, and you got this.